Well, the Switch 2 is officially out, and it's time to slow down a little bit. We got a few pickups that I think are pretty exciting. It's the Bargain Game Hunter. Yeah, so this week's episode is going to be a bit of a slower one. Mostly just because, I just got a new console, and obviously that cost a decent amount of money. I paid for most of it with trading credit, to be fair, but I still had to spend a decent amount out of pocket. So because of that, I'm kind of slowing down a bit when it comes to pickups. But that doesn't mean that I've completely stopped. In fact, we have some new pickups to share, including some Switch 2 stuff. So we'll start off with a couple games that came out recently that I was interested in getting when they initially came out. I ended up needing to wait because Switch 2 took priority, but now I have them. So from Amazon, we'll start off with Disney Illusion Island on the Xbox. So if you don't remember, this game came out initially on the Switch. It was a Switch exclusive, but they did release a version on Xbox and PS5, so I figured I'd snag the Xbox version. Looks like a fun, cartoony platformer. I think it's multiplayer as well. Yeah, co-op with 2 to 4 players. So I figured this would be kind of a fun game, and, I'm sure it'll run great on the Xbox, so wanted to pick it up there. This game looks interesting. I'm very curious as to how it's going to turn out. It's a cyberpunk-esque, I think, turn-based action game. Sounds cool. I'm excited to check it out. Looks cool. We have Neon Blood on the PS5. This got a release on the Switch as well, but again, I think it's going to run a lot better on the PS5, so I got the PS5 version. That was also from Amazon. And then I did go to GameStop and decided to pick up a couple extra things for the Switch 2. One of them I'm not going to show because there's not much to show, but the other two I will. So the first item is a Micro Express SD card. That's one of the few things I did not pick up at launch that I probably should have. And I realized very quickly that I was going to need one because with just installing the launch games that I had, my internal storage was already full. So I definitely need to upgrade. So now I've doubled the internal storage. I got a 256, which is, smaller than probably I should get, but I think for now that's going to do just fine. So that was the first pickup. The second one is another item that I wanted to get at launch, and they did have an extra. However, I didn't have the funds to get it at the time, but I got it like a week later. The Nintendo Switch camera. So I've actually used this a little bit. It's kind of cool. Yes, the resolution is not amazing, but it has some cool little features like if you're all playing on like a couch, you can actually set it up where it will pick up each individual player's face and it'll show their faces when you're playing Mario Kart. I did mess around with the camera, chatting with Easy Gamer and his kids, which was cool. So it's not bad. Is it the greatest quality? No, but I think in the long run it'll be good to have, and plus I think it'll be a fun little addition to the Switch, especially when Mario Party Superstars, or not Superstars, Jamboree, the expanded version comes out on Switch 2, because I think the camera additions will be really fun. So that's cool. And then last but certainly not least, and this is probably the last thing I'm going to pick up for the Switch 2, probably until Donkey Kong comes out, because I don't really have anything else I need to get. But I did want to get this because A, it is a physical game on the Nintendo Switch, and I just wanted to support it. Plus, it has cross-progression, which means I can take my character that I made on my Xbox and continue the story on Switch, which is pretty darn cool. Cyberpunk 2077, the Ultimate Edition on the Switch 2. Yes, I had to get it. I want to support CD Projekt Red and any company that is making physical on-cart Switch 2 games. This game did really well. Apparently it's the top non-first-party Switch 2 launch title. So I'm glad it's selling well, and I'm glad I was able to contribute to that by picking this up. So yeah, that's what I got so far. I do have a few more games coming in over the next few days, including a couple games from VGP, as well as a couple more games from Amazon. It's like I said, it's probably gonna be a pretty small week since there's not a lot of stuff, but you know, it is what it is. So let's get to those. All right, well, it's time for the final recap. This is a pretty short episode, I know. It's all pickups and it's all new stuff, so not the most exciting, but we got some hitters to wrap up the week, so I think we did all right. So let's start off with a couple Amazon pickups, and these are two new releases that just came out that I'm pretty stoked for. They look like fun additions to the collection. So we'll start off with Raidu Remastered, The Mystery of the Soulless Army on the Xbox Series X. If you don't know what this is, it is actually a remaster of Digital Devil Saga, a Devil Summoner, which is a Shin Megami Tensei game. I believe Raido was the original name in Japan, and when they did the remaster, they just kept the Japanese name rather than calling it Digital Devil Saga or Devil Summoner. But it's a Shin Megami Tensei remake. I've heard good things about it. I figured I'd pick it up. I will say, though, this has the single worst seal I have ever seen. As you can see, that's not sealed at all. This is how it came when I got it from Amazon. There's literally no seal at the bottom of it. It's like completely gone. So, I mean, thankfully I don't really care about keeping this sealed, but that is a terrible seal. Anyway, I paid $50. It's worth $50. Then we have another new release, and this one's actually a big box edition, which I'll be doing an unboxing for later on the channel. And that is The Thing Remastered, the deluxe edition on the PS5. So this is a remake, or remaster, I guess, of the Thing game that came out on the Xbox and the PlayStation 2 back in the 2000s. I actually still have the original Thing on Xbox, but now I have the remaster. Of course, it was made by Night Dive, the wizards at Night Dive. I've heard really good things about this game, so I figured I'd pick up the remaster so I can actually play it on a modern platform, which is pretty cool. And of course, this is the big box, so I will be unboxing that when you see it on the channel. Paid $50, it's worth $50. And then these last two games are both limited run games I got from VGP. We'll start with this one. I needed a filler game. I actually had this game ordered on Amazon, although the Amazon version isn't supposed to come out till August, but I got it early, I guess. Looks like a pretty interesting game, so I figured I'd pick it up. We have Omega 6, The Triangle Stars on the Switch. So, not done picking up Switch games. This looks pretty cool. Looks like an interesting title for sure. It apparently is like a JRPG meets like pixel art. I don't know, it looks fun. Figured I'd pick it up. I paid $36. It's worth $45, so not terrible. And then this one, I actually was on the lookout for because of Easy Gamer. One of the games that he mentioned that he really wanted was Beyond Good and Evil, the 20th Anniversary Edition, which was basically a remaster of Beyond Good and Evil that was on modern platforms. They got a stock of every version of it. So I made sure to let him know so he could pick up his Switch version. And I picked up the Xbox version. So here's Beyond Good and Evil, the 20th Anniversary Edition on the Xbox Series X. I've never played Beyond Good and Evil. I've heard very good things about it. Will we ever get Beyond Good and Evil 2? That remains to be seen. But did pick this up. Looks like a pretty solid edition. I paid $40, and this one is worth $82. So really good pickup. Highly desired game. And now let's get to the stuff we already discussed. So we'll start off with Neon Blood. Cool sci-fi turn-based game. Cyberpunk looks cool. Paid $35, it's worth $53. So that one actually has some good value. Disney Illusion Island, starring Mickey and Friends on the Xbox. It's a port of the Switch game, now on more platforms. Paid $30, it's worth $38. And then my Switch stuff. So not pictured, of course, is the SD card that I picked up for the Switch. That doesn't have any value because it's an SD card. But I did get a micro SD Express card for my Switch 2 to double the memory. It's a 256. Paid $60 out of pocket for that. I also got the Nintendo Switch 2 camera. I've been using it. It's not as bad as people think it is. I've heard very mixed things about it. I will give them credit. The speaker, like how well the Switch 2 picks up your voice, is actually pretty decent. And then this is kind of fun. I've played around with it on Mario Kart, as well as I've done a little bit of video chat. So it's a cool accessory. I'd say you should definitely get a camera if you plan on playing your Switch 2 online. But I think it's worth it. And this was what, 55, something like that? Yeah, 55. So not too bad there. And then, of course, to round out my Switch 2 launch collection, I picked up the last launch game that I wanted, and I'm glad I did because I want to support them. Cyberpunk 2077 on the Switch 2. It's the only game besides the first-party games and the Nintendo Switch 2 editions that is on cart. It's also cross-save, so if you started this game on PC or PlayStation or Xbox, you can actually continue your game on Switch 2. And this actually has Phantom Liberty on the chip. So I think that's pretty awesome. I'm definitely going to do that. I need to set up the cross save on my Xbox save so I can continue on the Switch 2, but I think that's pretty awesome. This one was $70. It's worth $70 because it just came out. That's it. Pretty inconsequential week. I mean, I did get some good stuff, and I'm glad I got the last couple things that I wanted for my Switch 2. I think that by itself makes it worth it, and of course some exciting new releases to add to the collection. So even though it's kind of a slower week, still pretty happy with the pickups. So that's going to do it for this episode of the Bargain Game Hunter. Thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe button, click the notification bell, that way you know when new videos drop. And I will see you on the next episode of the Bargain Game Hunter. Bye bye.